Okay, this is your third video in your integer unit. This is 8.3 in your textbook on how to model division of integers. Okay. So for this particular type of question, you have to really kind of understand division. So if I had $10 and I was to divide it into two piles, each pile would have $5, $5 in the pile. So if I had $10 and divided into two piles, each pile would be $5 in each pile, right? But another way to think of it, if I had $10 and divided it into uh, $5 groups, if I said I have $10, I'm going to make $5 groups, I could make two piles, right? So think of it this way, 10 divided by 2 equals 5, or 10 divided by 5 equals 2 is two ways to interpret both of those questions. Now, when we think about integers, if we think of these three examples here, if I think about A as being 14 integer chips, I could think of it one of two ways. 14 divided into 7 groups, and how much in each group, how many in each group. Or I can think of it as 14 divided into groups of 7, and I would say how many groups would there be? Right, these are two different interpretations of division of those numbers. So I can think of it as 14 divided into 7 groups, how many in each group, or 14 divided into groups of 7, how many groups would I make? So if I look at these two pictures and draw them, I'm going to just bring this up here. Hang on a second. Bring this up here. So I'm going to start with 14 integer chips. There's 7. There's 14 integer chips. If I divide them into 7 groups, that'd be 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, 6 groups, 7 groups. If I have 14 divided into 7 groups, how many are in each group? The answer would be 2 in each group, or therefore, positive 14 divided by positive 7 equals positive 2, or 2 groups. That's one way to interpret that division. Another way to interpret it is saying 14, so I'm just going to clone this again. And if I take that 14 and divide it into groups of 7, that would be one group of 7, and that would be another group of 7. And my answer for this one is how many groups would I make? I would make 2 groups, or positive 2 groups. So in both instances, I took 14 divided by 7. In one way, I decided to say that they were 7 different groups, and each group had 2. In the second example, I made them into groups of 7, but how many were in each group? It's still, or how many groups in total is 2. So both ways, I end up getting the answer of positive 2, and that's a way to say interpret the modeling rule. So therefore, positive 14 divided by positive 7, no matter which way you choose, equals positive 2. All right, that's your first one. In your second one, B says I have negative 9. Okay, so I'm going to draw negative 9. There's negative 9. And if I think about this, I can either think of it dividing into, I can do one of two things. Groups of 3 of negative 3 in each, or into negative 3 groups. Okay? And since I can't make negative 3 groups, the only way I can interpret it is saying dividing it into groups of negative 3. So I'm going to take this and make one group of negative 3, 2 groups of negative 3, 3 groups of negative 3. How many groups do I make when I take negative 9 and divide it into negative 3 groups? I make 3 groups, or a positive 3 groups, right? If I was to take 9 negatives and divide them into groups of negative 3, how many groups would I make? I would make 3 groups. So therefore, negative 9 divided by negative 3 equals positive 3. Okay? That kind of makes sense. Negative 9 divided into groups of negative 3, or owing $9 divided into smaller debts of $3 each. How many smaller debts would I have? I would have 3 of them. And finally, our last one is positive 6 or negative 16 divided by positive 2. So there's our negative 16. And again, I can think of it as being divided into 2 groups, or groups of positive 2. And since I can't possibly divide them into groups of positive 2 because I only have negatives there, I can't do that one. So I'm going to divide them into 2 groups. The first group is going to be this one. The second group is going to be this one. So if I have negative 16 and I divide them into 2 groups, how many would be in each group? Each group would be negative 8, and therefore that's your answer. Okay. If we think about the story problem or the context of it, the temperature in Buffalo, Narrows, Saskatchewan was falling by 3 degrees each hour. How many hours did it take for the temperature to fall negative 12 degrees? So if I take the starting temperature of negative 12 degrees Celsius and I divide that, right, by what it fell each hour, which was, it fell negative 3 degrees. So I know that the size of each group, or each hour, in this case, is minus 3 degrees. So each hour is minus 3 degrees. And if I'm thinking about in context, there is the negative 12 degrees it fell altogether, right? So in the first hour, it fell negative 3 degrees. In the second hour, it fell 3 more degrees. In the third hour, in the fourth hour, how many hours did it take? It took 4 hours altogether, or positive 4. So therefore, it would take 4 hours.